So now it's setting up. Rachel is here. All the cool folks are here. Um, so welcome. Happy Wednesday. Janice, if you just want to jump right in, introduce Janice, if you just want to jump in and start talking. And then
Sure. First of all, what up, homegirl? Thank you for letting me come over to the KCC. The Voices has always been a supporter of KCC, riding with you guys early on. It's just nice having other Black and brown women that's, taking this journey on social justice to be able to work with them and be able to support them and uplift them and strategize with them at any given moment. And so when this bill came across, so the first I want to let everybody know, I own the Voices of Women of Color, but I also own the only Black women-owned lobbying firm in the state of Connecticut.
so does that mean does that mean that you've got a seat at the table, or does that mean that they've got to come to your table?
Well, I've never sat at anybody's table. Even as the Voices, we built it at our kitchen table. So if you wanted us, you had to come to our table. I don't solicit my clients. They come to me. I've never agreed with 100% of anybody I work with, but I'll fight with them where I disagree and work with them where I do. And so that makes me a complicated person because my clients are diverse. I have business clients and folks who are in nonprofits. The end goal for me and the end goal for the Voices of Women of Color is to begin to bridge the gap around wealth. And, we define capitalism our own way. We define power our own way. And we don't adopt other terms. Like, we're not progressive. We don't really know what that means. We're just Black and brown women. And that makes us enough. And so, we're working on this bill because we feel like a bunch of people who really love the environment, who, believe in climate change and really truly is trying to figure out the litter issue, oftentimes don't deal with the unintended consequences of their bullshit. Excuse me. They're sitting there and they're talking to themselves. How I stumbled across this bill is a few weeks ago, the environmental committee was having an environmental educational forum. And I wanted to hear some of it, given some clients that I'm working with on certain issues, and realized very quickly that one, the committee had no diversity. It was just like all of these white people talking to each other about what's best to address litter, what's best to address redemptions on bottles and all of this stuff. And they was getting it all wrong. They was getting it wrong because, first of all, we shouldn't even be having a conversation right now about increasing nothing. Because, Kamora, the fact of the matter is the people you serve, the people I serve, been struggling before COVID, and COVID just made them double down. All summer, the Voices been giving out, we usually use our money to pay for oil and gas for people in the wintertime, their electric bills or whatever. People asking us for food cards now. So that shows you where we are right now. People like, I'll layer up and be in my house, but I need some food. Can the Voices give us food cards? Folks, we've been giving gas and oil and electric, paying their bills in the past. Now is just need food from us. So this bill seeks to do a lot of things, but the part of the bill that's really disturbing for us is where they would like to increase the value of that bottle that is 5 cents to 10 cents. And the thought process is, if we put 10 cents on it, people won't litter. They'll bring the bottle back. Well, first of all, you need to have a redemption center in your community in order to bring a bottle back. Second of all, I don't appreciate anybody who call themselves working on environmental issues, who's focused on a bottle, but not focused on food insecurity in my community. I don't take you serious. Because if you would have thought about it for just a second, you would know that our community has food insecurities, which means that we're paying a super high price already for food, for beverages, and everything else that's killing us, right? And then the other things like you want the sports drinks, the teas, and everything else that you can get in Stop and Shop, you can get in West Hartford, you can get in Bloomfield for a fraction of what we're already paying. So when you talk to me about putting 10 cents on the bottle, it sounds like to me when you didn't talk to Black and brown women about how to recycle a plastic bag. You basically made us pay for something that we did better than everybody else. We've been recycling plastic bags. Me and Kimora was having a conversation today, and it's like, I'm mad. I ran out of my plastic bags that we had for free. When somebody
honestly, just now, just before I got here, I was in there, I felt my little thing and it was empty. I was like, oh, I needed a bag. I needed to go put it in a trash can.
Right. We use that in our bathroom garbage cans. We put food in it. If you come to visit me and you want to take a plate to go, I put that food in that bag. Kimora takes it home, put the bag in her cabinet, and it goes forth like that. But nobody had a Black or a brown woman at the table when they was deciding that. And so now they had us paying 10 cents for the plastic bag. Everything that we
found out that there's an actual or there are many companies that make trash can liners. I did not know that existed. I made it to just about 50 years of age without knowing that throwaway product existed because I had throwaway bags that they gave me.
Right, and now I gotta buy those little stupid liners when I used to have it for free. So see, these are the things that happens when you don't have Black and brown people at your table and you dipping in stuff that impacts their lives greatly. We got women selling half of their food stamps right now to keep their rent on. And you talking about, we got women who got 4 and 5 kids at home now who have to buy juice, who have to buy tea, who have to buy water, and gonna pay that 10 cents up front because they trying to get a ride to the grocery store to get food. So they paying that 10 cents up front and never gonna be able to redeem that bottle. So again, you're taxing us. And you know, Kimora, you know, we focus on the seniors. So we bring them to the grocery store Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and to dialysis on Tuesdays, which means we bring them to the grocery store 4 days out of 5. Because once they go to dialysis and the elder tell you she got to stop at the market, you say, yes, ma'am, and you head to that market. Now they're buying 4 and 5 cases of water bottles. Why? Because they ain't got time for the recycle jar when they can barely get out their bed and go up and down their stairs. So they need a few of those bottles at the end of their nightstand, right? So after they do all of that and we go to clean up their houses and put them in plastic bags and put them in and recycle the same way, they're not bringing them back to redeem these bottles when we're taking them to the grocery store, carrying the groceries and the bottles in their houses for them because they can't do it. So now you want our seniors to pay 10 cents more up front too. All along, the littering thing, you think the young boy who would have been going next to the Kabbalah house to the Chinese restaurant that's getting a juice, Kimora, is going to hold on to that bottle to bring it to Stop and Shop to redeem it?
No.
Somebody tell me.
But you bring up the other fun place because I was going to pick up my bottle of wine because it's the end of the day. Started adjusting at 9 a.m. this morning. Woo! The day, wine time is here. But what did you say about wine bottles and nips? Are these being added?
So I always believed in trying to work with people. Mm-hmm. And I believe that wine, nips, and all of that sometimes is a luxury. And so they was getting nervous because they know I was coming about everything they had, but they didn't have wine, nips, and other spirited drinks. But now they added it into the bill. And so here's my thing.
Added in, but now we're going to go back to Pookie over at the Kabbalah house. And I'm going to use the term that, so please, if I'm offending you, I'm sorry, but this is what we had. And has anyone here ever had ghetto juice? It comes in every possible flavor that you can think of. The name brand is any possible name brand you could ever possibly think of. And it's filled with all the high fructose corn syrup and coloring that you could ever think of. And you can find them in any corner store, in any bodega, anywhere USA, right? Guess what? Those bottles are not recyclable. So while we had the space and while we had the Kabbalah house, I would have my Sunday weird pull it all together, right? So everything that went back to Avery got put into the Avery boxes, and that all went out to New Britain. Everything else got put together to go out to the redemption place. And we'll talk about who I saw at the redemption place, because I did not see other Black mothers. I did not see family members out there. That's not who was out there. But I would pack up the other stuff to go out there, and it would always have almost equal boxes and bags of these plastic containers that sell ghetto juice that we can't recycle, and then the other stuff that is recyclable, which was something that I never noticed. I never noticed that until I was there, and we had the stuff that people were bringing in from the neighborhood, and I realized, you've got to be kidding. So Coca-Cola, all of these we'll get a nickel for, but all the rest of us, if we care about recycling, for whatever reason, the brands that are typically sold on Albany Avenue have to go in the regular blue recycling because they're not part of this redemption thing.
Right. And so there's what you're highlighting is that there's two problems, which spoke to my first problem when I framed this conversation around food insecurities. So it's not enough that we don't have healthier choices at the same price as Stop and Shop in our community. When we do have it, you want us to pay not just 10 cents, because see, Kamora, they're moving the 5 cents redemption to 10 cents. But we all know what that means, because for that iced tea that Stop and Shop is paying $1 for, we're already paying $2.59 for it. So now when they put that 10 cent on it, that really means they're putting 70 cents to $1 on it for us in our community. Right? So we're going to be paying 3 times the price for something that another community who can't afford the 10 cent is still paying cheaper price for that same tea.
Now, this is March, and so we've heard a whole lot of folks have been talking about the pink tax, and we look at the pink tax, and we look at what shampoo looks like, we look at the cost of razors, we look at the cost of deodorant, and we realize that products that are marketed towards women for no reason cost a lot more.
Right.
What Janice just said about what we pay in the hood, I'm going to ask folks here, if you do take Route 44, if you do come into Hartford on 44, please stop at any of the stores there, buy yourself a Coke, buy yourself a very fine juice, and then compare that price to Stop and Shop, because this really is a huge issue. We really are paying for a soda, we're paying about $1 more than we would in other spots. And now there's this idea that we're going to get this extra tax on top of it.
Well, if you actually just took a look, my sister used to live East Hartford near Glastonbury, so she used to always go to the grocery store in Glastonbury. Mm-hmm. Stop and Shop in Glastonbury would have something that if I turn around and go to my neighborhood Stop and Shop in Bloomfield, it wasn't even on sale. They'd be like, "Oh, 2 for $5 for this item." Then I go from Glastonbury, I go back to Bloomfield to get more of it, and the deal's not there.
Right.
Because what is Bloomfield? Bloomfield is 75% Black suburb.
Right.
And the Capaco sits what? On the bus line.
Right.
So Capaco's on the bus line. So that means people who live on the north end of Hartford and the people that live in Bloomfield, they'll be frequenting this store. So they're going to make us pay more for our food. And
right.
So beyond the fact that we have the food hazards, meaning we don't even have good grocery stores in certain neighborhoods to begin with, now you turn around these large chain grocery stores, they are taxing us even more, giving us more expensive items, the exact same item.
It's not your grocery stores. It's your representatives. This is legislation. We're talking about policy matters. We're talking about policy matters that's coming from the Environment Committee, right? We're talking about people from a certain community with a certain mindset who knows what they want for the environment for all of us without considering what that 10 cent means for most of all of the people that the KCC and the Voices of Women of Color serves. So see, and this is the trickiness about environmental issues. The trickiness about it is because it's easy to blame the person in the forefront, right? It's easy to say, and here's where, if anybody on this phone, y'all may take this the wrong way, but I'm gonna say it anyway because that's just who I am. We all, when the storm happened, everybody was like, "Look at Eversource. Look at my bill for Eversource. Look at how much my bill going up. We need to boycott Eversource." No, you don't. You need to hold all of the tree huggers who don't want to even like purge out old dead trees that haven't been serviced in their municipalities since forever. So when the storm come and them trees fall and we still haven't figured out how to put the lines underground yet from a policy perspective. Because see, I do power analysis. So in that area, it wasn't Eversource. It was municipalities and it was legislators who will not deal with old trees and who will not put power lines under the ground when they're developing and laying that conduit at that time. So see, this is where it becomes very, very tricky with environmental issues, because environmental also mean economic issues for Black and brown people. And if we're not at the table to tell you what we can afford and what we cannot, you don't have a right to decide that price alone.
And as you're talking about affording, I hope what people are hearing that that's not just dollars and cents, but that's what we can actually afford. That's what we as human beings can give of ourselves, deal with on a regular basis.
Right. You know, I'm thinking about how many women, because they keep it real with us, you know what I'm saying, Kimora, like, they're like, "Look, Miss Janice, I ain't got time to be trying to, you know, I gotta try to make these little groceries last to the end of the month because I had to sell half of my food stamps so I could keep this rent paid." That's real. That's real. And we just sitting around here acting like people ain't struggling. We just sitting around here acting like it's a pot of money. And then don't talk to me about, well, you know, what about if we start making convenience stores taking the redemptions? You haven't figured out how to do anything with enforcements when our convenience stores. I can't take you serious, nor that compromise. But I'm willing to, you know, have them remove it off of all the teas, the sports drinks, the waters, and all of that, and keep it on the wine and beer and nips, because, you know, all of that can be perceived as a luxury. You know, it's not, you know, it's something you can't buy with your food stamps.
So when they came up with the nickel redemption, and I know that Maine has a dime redemption. Pretty much everyone around us has a nickel. But what were the differences? Like, was there a market increase in how many bottles were and how much waste and litter wasn't happening? Was there a noticeable difference?
Well, you know, Maine wouldn't be the ideal in comparison, and this is the uniqueness about this situation. You can't really compare a suburb to an urban community in terms
of. No. I wasn't asking about Maine, but I'm just saying, like, around us, pretty much everyone is a nickel. But for us, once we went from no redemption to a nickel, did we start recycling more?
No. We absolutely, because there's still a lack of access with redemption centers in terms of proximity. You think if you didn't have a car, you was going to be jugging bottles with you and Isaiah to take the bottles back? No. And honestly, I did that because that was the KCC and that was the business. So as we were having this conversation, talking about this, I was thinking about, like, well, wait, I'm a person who does not have a lot of extra income. Okay, I'm a person who does not have extra income. So my bits of charitable giving, and I love that I'm a conduit, so I can do that, right? But my personal charitable giving is small because I don't have a lot. And one thing, right, us too over here.
On Monday nights, when I'm ready to put my stuff out on the street, I take out all the bottles that are recycling and I put them next to the trash can. And there's a couple who comes by, usually both of them come by, and they come and take it. Now, I am a person, I'm a human being, and I'm a human being. It's better to give than receive. It's always good to receive. All of this stuff is good, right? And it feels great to be able to give. One of the things that I think that this misses, because, and I asked about that 5 cent thing, because this is how it goes. We talked about community gardens, we'll get to community gardens, but people have this idea that this thing is gonna make it better. And regardless of what the proof and the research and just their daily life tells them, they're gonna do it. So we weren't getting any money for bottle redemption. Someone said, we should do a nickel. Boom, put a nickel on it, no huge market difference. We go by about 30 years or so. What are we gonna do? We still have the same problem. Brand new people are in the room and they can't think out of the box. So we're doing a nickel, Let's add another nickel, even though what we understand is that it didn't make a big difference. But let me talk about me really quickly. Yeah, Natasha, you're next. But let me just talk about me as a
And
person.
I gotta jump off, Kimora.
Go have your meeting.
I may bet you're here till 8. I'm
We're
gonna
here till 8.
slide back in here. You have a copy of the bill number. I
No.
want to be able to ask, I'm an organizer. I'm gonna ask your team directly. Can we count on them to write a testimony and call these people to death? We have their cell phone numbers and everything. So I'm gonna run in the other meeting, get you everything you need, and see if you can connect me to everybody who was here. I want to thank you all for letting me engage you this evening. Peace and love. Be good to yourselves. And thank you for letting me talk to you.
Go take care, beautiful human.
All right, babes. Bye-bye.
Just so y'all know, that's one of my mentors. So when I make decisions, that's who I've got to go run it through. And that's the voice that comes back at me. Whew. Anyway, coming back to what I can give. So I really can't give a lot, but I can put my cans and bottles outside for that couple when they come by, and it makes me feel good, right? And I know that I'm not the only poor person who does this. So along with this not creating a place where more people are going to go returning stuff, it also didn't take into account how we actually interact with that. So we know that folks are not supposed to sell their food stamps, right? People sell their food stamps. People sell their food stamps because they have to. I've never in my life, and I've been on this earth for 50 years, and I've been dwelling with poor people for all of this time. I've never in my life met a person who sold food stamps because they didn't need to sell food stamps. So all those things about people selling food stamps for drugs and all that other good stuff, that probably exists somewhere. I've been in many different strange situations. That's never been a part of my reality. But people think this happens. There's this idea that if we added another nickel, made this a dime redemption and not a nickel redemption, that more people would be returning bottles. And really, it ends up being an extra tax on us poor folks. So because we had that wonderful conversation about trees that was wonderful and great, and we talked about the tree when we had our Black women only conversation, we were in there and got to, fuck trees, fuck your gardens, we don't care about this. Da, da, da. When Janice came with this one, it's like, okay, can you come have this conversation? And I do think, know, and believe that I want to have a lot more of these uncomfortable conversations about environmental justice and environmental racism, because there's a belief that Black and brown people don't care about the environment. I'm going to say that that's not true. But there's also a place where our issues are not seen in the larger issues, in the context of larger issues. And then also just our individual issues aren't always seen. Remember way back when people decided they're going to be angry about disposable diapers and all the land waste? You want to know what killed that one? You want to know why we don't fight that fight anymore? Working mothers. Working mothers said, you've got to be kidding. We need disposable diapers. So then folks went back to the drawing board, and what do we have now? A whole bunch of disposable diapers that have special inserts that we can take out, or that are biodegradable, outsides that we know are going to be biodegradable. But there was an understanding that these are horrible, they're going to be in landfills for 500 years, we got to get them rid of them. No, this group of people who are worthy of respect are saying it's a thing that we need, so let's figure out how to make this work. So I'm going to write something. I don't know what I'm going to write for Friday. We're going to see what that is, but I'm hoping to bring some ridiculousness in here right now. So boxes are cute. We all talk about thinking outside of the box. Forget that. Just pretend like you just drank, I don't know, you're on ayahuasca, you ate a handful of mushrooms, somehow the gods came down, they jumped in. We are here. We're out there in the big, wide, expansive world. There is no box. People are throwing pieces of plastic on the side of the road. This is a problem. We've got issues with this all over the place. How can we deal with this?
So nowhere in this conversation are we talking about the real polluters, which are large corporations. So like with the straw battle not too long ago, it was like, okay, I mean, I understand, I try to be considerate, but I try to think about the things that I'm using, but my one little plastic straw is not the reason the world is going to self-destruct. It is corporations who have no accountability to any laws. And those are the polluters that are impacting you know, the things that are going to ultimately kill us all in the end. And cow farts, quite frankly. I mean, methane is one of the biggest causes of greenhouse gas. So, you know, we worry about all these little things. Those are nice to haves, you know, like, yeah, let's be more conscientious about straws. Yeah, let's come up with better diapers. The bottle tax never made any sense to me, because anywhere you go where there's a mass of people, when they leave, there's a pile of trash. And 5 cents or 10 cents isn't going to motivate someone. And it's also created this sort of underground job market for people who go around and collect them and return them. When I worked, you know, every day and I was driving through the back way to get to my company, I would see the people who were coming out of Hartford with their shopping carts to go to the Jordan Road Stop and Shop. And so I just threw my bottles in the back of my car. And like, I don't know, once every 2 or 3 months, I'd go into the Stop and Shop at the people who were returning them and say, do you want them? Because I can't afford to stand here and return them. But really, you know, if you want to talk about pollution in a big way, let's talk about corporate pollution. And that's what's really killing the planet. And all of this is just pitting us against each other. And it's classist, and it's, you know, extremely a capitalist driven solution to what is, you know, the smallest minutia of the problem.
I agree. Just 100 corporations account for 71% of carbon emissions, which is a statistic I love to have on hand, because I often talk to people my age who are really set on recycling is going to save everything. But obviously that's not true. And like you were saying, Catherine, like, it's really like a tactic in order to pit the working class against each other. And what we really need to do is to like people who are able to do it is to like make sure that we're speaking out against corporations being able to do things like that, and like making sure that we're holding our representatives accountable for, because we don't live in a free market. Like, there's no free market. Capitalism is regulated, and I don't think we should have capitalism, period, but it needs to be regulated, and it is regulated. And to say that a corporation shouldn't be allowed to exceed a certain amount of emissions per year or whatever it may be is not an unreasonable thing. And so, like, politicians and the corporations who they work for, because quite frankly, politicians are controlled by the corporate, by corporate America and the corporate world. Anyone who tries to tell you that that's not the case is lying.
Right.
Naya, it sounds like you've got a decent grasp on this. Do you have any idea how these corporate carbon credits work, where companies are allowed to be horrible polluters, but as long as they can trade these credits with other companies, it's okay? Nicole, do you know anything about what I'm talking about here?
Yeah, the cap and trade that was put into place during the Obama administration as an effort to clean up the environment. And yeah, I mean, that's how it works, really, is that, you know, corporations are allotted a certain amount of, you know, of, I guess, bad environmental, you know, whatever that they can do. And if they go over, then they have to buy from another corporation that, you know, that does not meet its allotment. It has to buy those credits from them. And so it's, I mean, it's in essence, just, you know, another sort of capitalist system to deal with, you know, environmental damage, instead of just saying, you know, to corporations, you know, clean your shit up.
Another way to get over, another way to get past, and another way for us to just continue lying to ourselves. And that's the part that gets to me about all of these initiatives. They're just games. So that's where this 10-cent one hit me as I'm like, you're kidding. This is just another game. And as Catherine said, that the straw thing, because I went immediately to the place of, this is ridiculous. We can just do all of this. But question I'm going to pose, because as you all know, I think that first answer that you've got is a good start, but it's never the fully fleshed out one. And we need to flesh it all the way out. I think plastic is horrible and evil with everything it does to the environment, everything that happens as we're creating it, everything about plastic is awful. Glass, I kind of like. Would it make any sense to stop using plastic in single-use bottles and only use glass, or am I creating a bigger problem that I didn't even think about?
There was actually a really interesting podcast, because I'm a little addicted to them, that I listened to a while back that talked about how the single-use plastics, part of the development and use of them in like the drinks and stuff, part of that was because we used to have the glass bottles and things. And what was happening is, particularly along like roadsides, people were throwing them out the window, and you had glass that was then littering. And now, maybe this, isn't as impactful, isn't as much of an impact now, because we have less farms and such nowadays. But you had farms that were, sort of along highways that were littered with broken glass that was, causing difficulties for farmers, growing their crops, as well as obviously issues for, grazing of animals in those areas. So,
That's an issue.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what that, what the impact of that is now. But, that was a sort of a historical point of reference.
What about paper, like cardboard? Like you see like coconut water, or like they have boxed water.
It's a good alternative, I think. I don't know enough about it. Can glass be recycled easier? Easier may not be the right than plastic.
Glass can be reused many more
Reused
times.
and broken down.
Yeah. Glass can be reused.
With your art, can you use glass bottles, or does it have to be the sheets that you use? I'm just
I can use glass bottles, but there's a whole other scientific thing with glass that it has to be compatible for what I'm doing. So I use sheet glass that has the compatibility I need so I can mix them, but I can take a glass bottle and melt it down endlessly over and over and over again. You can grind them down into powder and make sand out of them. I mean, they came from sand, and ultimately it could be used in other ways than just as glass. So there are alternatives.
Also, there was actually something that was actually being stated. I watch a lot of those, competition shows, and I caught myself in the Netflix hole watching Blown Away, which is about blowing glass. And they were saying that they're not sure how far this industry of blowing glass for decorations and anything else they do could last, because of the simple resource of the basicness of sand.
Yeah.
How at some point, if we were to start mass producing again glass bottles to the degree with the amount of people we have, we might run into some issues with the availability of sand at some point, as simple as that sounds.
Yeah.
We already have, I mean, we'd be probably digging in oceans for the bottom to get the sand out. Something stupid, which will have a diverse effect somewhere else that we're not thinking about, because we're trying to take care of one thing and destroying other stuff in the process. So it's always something that's kind of, it may seem simple and basic. And I'm not trying to say a doomsday thing, but I'm just saying, like, if you kick this can down the road far enough, you'll find another problem with the. And I thought there was also a health issue with the glass. There's ways for air bubbles to get trapped, what makes it unhealthy for the children, because they can get more air bubbles because glass doesn't have any malleability to it.
Oh, okay.
So with those single use, they also collapse a little bit better, which reduces the amount of air a baby will suck in while they're taking in the bottle. So there's actually also a physical need for why we switched to this, which is a little bit more made. because we get smarter, but we do stupid stuff still. You know, when we get more information about how things work, we then want to combat that thing to see if we can improve it, but we don't think about the consequences of what we fix.
Of everything else, yeah, and what we're interacting with. You know, my question is, in the neighborhood, say a bodega can charge like $2.50 for a Pepsi, where Stop and Shop would charge maybe $1. Who's getting that profit?
Oh, Stop and Shop's not charging $1 anymore. They're $1.99, $2.19.
Well, but you guys are saying if I was on my way into Hartford and I stopped at a small store and I got a whatever I drink, pop. I call it pop. Guys call it soda. It's much more expensive, and it should not be.
A part of that is buying power.
Yeah.
So if I'm a bodega and I'm buying 3 cases of water a week, that is way different than Stop and Shop, which is buying 300,000 because they've got all of the Stop and Shops everywhere. So you've got that issue, you've got the bulk issue. Many of our small store folks are buying their stuff at BJ's. So whatever it is that you buy it for at BJ's, that's what they're paying for it. And then taking it to the store and doing the markup that they need to add to it to make money. So there's a whole lot of just lecherous practices that aren't cool, and a whole lot of things that are just, you know, part and parcel with the beast. Yeah. One thing that I wanted us to do, so Hartford, every so often we like to talk about the food deserts that exist. I'm going to say that they aren't so much food deserts. We've got some places with really crappy food options. There's food available. It's not good food at all, but there's, you know, I'm not going to go so far as to say deserts. But I always thought it'd be a great idea if we could figure out a way to do a buying co-op for the stores. Then, you know, the quality of our vegetables and fruits would be better, and the owners would have more equitable prices. And then they probably would never actually be able to compete with Stop and Shop when it comes to prices. But if my choice is a store that's 2 doors down that way, or wait for someone to come pick me up, drive across town and go shopping, then there is some real competition happening there.
You know, we probably missed a genuine opportunity during the pandemic when the government started paying them for those farmers, the family boxes, where if something like that was in place, we could have actually established the lines, because there was a lot of food just going to waste that was being picked. That's the only reason why they even started Farmers and Family. It wasn't about the people who needed food. It was about the industry that was losing money. And so since they were trying to take advantage of that, we could have took advantage of that in order to set those lines of distribution up, because the people were still leaving their house to go to the local stores to get the vegetables. If we could have got better vegetables in there with a way to distribute, we probably missed a genuine opportunity. Now everything's ramping back up. They're going to go back to business as usual. Won't even accept the phone calls.
Now I'm gonna lose sleep over
Wallace,
that
you said the exact truth there. The 100% truth is it's not about us. It's about them. Yep. It's about profit. It's about protecting their profit. It's not about feeding people. And that's, I think, at the base of all of this is the root cause.
Well, when you look at it, agriculture in and of itself is actually the largest segment of social services. People always want to talk about, Social Security, and they want to talk about people with disability and all. Look at what they do for farmers, and look at the demographics of most farmers, and you'll see there's a reason why they do it for most farmers. And then they actually regulate their food a lot more, at certain areas, certain aspects, unless there's some greedy corporation that can make more money off of it, then they don't regulate. Like soybeans can go out of control because we're putting soy in everything, even running cars with it, or you know what I mean. So you never know what they decide what they want to regulate versus they don't. But they do a whole lot of farmer aid, and it's absolutely absurd. But nobody ever looks at it as welfare. But let the inner city people who can't afford to buy food, even though they have a job, or 2. And they're the demons. Meanwhile, the people who work in the farms and just can't get stuff grown because that's nature, they can get stuff and nobody looks that bad at them. There's this inequality of the thought process. We get caught in these paradigms where we believe the working poor are somehow worse than the other working poor because of what they do for work.
Yep.
They're both
and
working poor.
Farm aid was originally for family farmers.
Yeah.
But they're all now, bought into this whole big industrial complex of food production, and these massive farms that are, like Bird's Eye and these massive corporations are getting the benefit of all of that handout, because they're the larger producers, and small family farms are slowly going the way of the dinosaur. It's just financially not possible to do it on a scale that allows them to, do what their parents did or their grandparents did.
Okay, I'm a little bit loopy here because I'm straight up seriously. I've been up and on since 7 a.m. But right now, I'm thinking about, from what you just said, Catherine, Dr. Seuss is all up in my head. And is it time for us to retire Old MacDonald because we're lying to children? And this is because the truth is, so family farms, how many family farms are there right now in the state of Connecticut? I think most of Glastonbury is all turned into factory farms. So we've got all of these places where there are farms. So there used to be an America where there was a red barn and there's a farmer and he had a wife, and that farmer would milk a cow, but he also had some chickens. There might be some goats, and he might have some collard greens and some pumpkins and some tomatoes and some cucumbers growing, right? So all of those cute kids books, Turkey Lurkey, all the fun kids books that we have that take place on farms. Are we now lying to our children because those farms don't exist? And should we start writing children's literature with factory farms in Monsanto, which is no longer Monsanto? I'm sorry, I just dated myself. What's Monsanto now?
Oh my God, I don't know.
This is definitely a loopy question. We are not going to go down this rabbit hole. We are not going down this rabbit hole. No. Tell Isaiah to get you some coffee.
No, Isaiah's been cleaning the house today. I don't know if you saw, but Isaiah's been living in the house.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Well, you can't eat a credit card. You guys saw that commercial a long time ago. You can't eat plastic. So money is nothing when there's no food. And I have to tell you guys that I'm just horrified at how much food we waste in this country, or any country, but this country especially. If I bring food back, say to Stop and Shop, that I meant not to get, they will throw it out.
Yep.
Throw it out. I said, are you kidding me? Isn't there any way that you guys can connect with do a partnership with something? Because I don't even open. It's not even open. It's just something I didn't want. And now I'm more careful about shopping too. I'm going, wait a minute, if I don't need that, I'm not buying it, because if I have to bring it back, they're going to throw it out. I don't get that either.
I think there's a problem when I'm scrolling through my TikTok and I see videos of people who work at Dunkin' Donuts throwing out dozens and dozens of donuts and bagels and food, and they're getting consequences at their job that's affecting their employment because they're posting this, because Dunkin' Donuts isn't allowing them to post about this, because they are literally not allowed to give that food to people who need it. They have to get rid of it, because if Dunkin' can't make money off of it, no one can have it. And I think that, again, it gets back to regulating capitalism. You can't just have people doing whatever they want, because it kills people. And we seem to understand that with a lot of other concepts like marijuana, when that's not even that's not a thing that really kills people, but you're literally making it so that people cannot eat because of corporate interest.
Well, it's also part the litigious society we live in. If somebody gets sick off of something they got from them for free, then somebody will sue them. Because I sat there one day and went to a concert at MSG, and they were closing down concessions. And now, if you've ever been to MSG, if you just drive around the block looking for parking, you will see concaves of the homeless around MSG.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I passed at least 50 people looking for a parking space that could use these hot dogs, pizza, nachos. And they were throwing away everything that they didn't sell during the concert. And it was breaking my heart, because that was all food that ready to go, that if they could have just taken it and just went outside with it, there would have been a lot of people who ate that night. And, I heard Panera used to, at the end of the night, give organizations the bagels and all that other stuff. But my aunt used to work at Dunkin' Donuts. They make them throw everything away, period. There's nothing. That's it. Throw it all away. And that makes zero sense to me, because there's plenty of shelters, all that. They could take those donuts that you would have gladly sold to somebody 2 hours ago, regardless, and just, why can't they put them in a big trash bag, drop them off, and let them figure it out?
And that's why I like Panera, because they take their stuff at the end of the night and they bring it down to this place on Weathersfield Avenue, which is distributed to senior citizens' homes, to homeless shelters, to food pantries, and they get rid of it and give it away, all the breads and pastries that are left at the end of the
Well,
night.
how does Panera get away from then litigious stuff? How do they get away, get?
Maybe they're just trusting
Because
that
because
people
the
aren't gonna-
argument, I think that the argument that, we have a litigious society and that's why, corporations can't do these types of beneficial things is a little bit of a red herring that is created by the corporations themselves.
No.
There are, think about all of the legislation that we have that benefits corporations, including so much legislation that restricts
Oh, yeah.
employees' abilities to take action against corporations, that restricts our abilities as the people getting buying things from corporations. It restricts our abilities to hold those corporations responsible. So if there truly is something that corporations feel like, is out there that prevents them from being able to do good with this type of waste, I find it hard to believe that we couldn't solve that through legislation. Secondly, again, if there are some companies that figure this out. So, whether it is, signing up a deal with a particular location to take these items to where they agree that they will not sue the company if there, is some sort of, if they get a bad bagel or whatever, that's an option too. So, so there are plenty of ways that we could figure that problem out. Again, whenever I hear like, oh, corporations are afraid to be, to be sued and so they can't do something, bull,
Yep.
like they are covered so many ways, many ways.
And we had like once it hit and we were giving away bagels on Sterling Street every Saturday. That's because between rounds got in touch with Carrie got in touch with us, and we would just show up there at the end of the day on Friday. They knew that they were going to be KCC folks. So I think the first time we're from the KCC, and they were cool, but they would just bring out bags and they were there sitting on the, if we were worried about silverfish or anything, they're there sitting on the cart. They'd come, they'd wheel it out to the car, we'd put it in the car, and then the next day we'd give them all away. But we didn't have to sign anything. There were no waivers. There's nothing. It was just COVID hit. We got a ton of bagels. We appreciate you for getting rid of the bagels. And then they would have had to pay for the trash. So for them, it came down to, we could either pay for all this trash removal, or we can give you guys hundreds of bagels and you can give them away. And so that's what they did.
To add something you said earlier, you mentioned Maine and their deposits. They just added a third bottle tax. All alcohol bottles now have a 15-cent deposit.
Well,
So now they're
that's
10
just
cents.
money grabs. It's all a money grab. Everything is a money grab. It's like y'all were talking about carbon credits. That's just a way for the government to get money from corporations, because they know the bad actors are going to still act bad. They just get to pay their way out of it.
mm-hmm.
And it made a little
Well, here in
cottage
Connecticut-
industry. It made a little cottage industry from corporations who don't have a real carbon footprint to make money off of large corporations who are terrible.
Yep.
It might be bad of us, but we save all our alcohol bottles we bring to Dane every time we go up to visit his parents. And we turn it, the ones we didn't pay $1,000 for, and get the 15-cent deposit per bottle.
You figured out how to make money off of it.
What about that buying co-op? I think that's a great idea, Kimura.
I do.
Is that impossible? That co-op kind of thing? Is that a legislative thing, or is that just a grassroots thing? Or...
The way I see it, there'd have to be someone who's
Oh,
there'd have to be like the buyer.
Sorry.
Right? So there would have to be whoever the organization is. It's the buying organization.
Yeah.
I see the co-op piece coming out of that. But this is one that just exists up here. How it would work, I don't know. But I do find myself becoming frustrated, and people, and I get the idea of the food desert. We don't have big grocery stores, but we've got lots of small places where we can get inferior food.
Yeah.
So that needs to be addressed somehow. And like when you think of how the North End is set up, one large grocery store in one area is going to serve the people in like the 3-block radius. But still have a ton of folks who don't have cars. Like, was it
Mhm.
And Stop and Shop, not Stop and Shop, but the one that's across the street from Stop and Shop on Kane Street, they ended up with these shopping carts, right? And it was this wonderful thing, and they were anti-theft shopping carts, and somehow the shopping carts only went to a certain point in the parking lot. If you remember that, Jessica, it was, I don't know what the technology was, but somehow they stopped. And this is great because we don't want these shopping carts to end up in the river and people
Yeah.
them and all this other good stuff. But there really is a group of human beings who use that shopping cart to bring the food from the grocery store to their house, and having shops to do that with kept them from having to pay for the bus if they were on a bus line, the cab. And then when they put the new Stop and Shop in over on New Park Avenue, there used to be a cottage industry of people with their cars who would just sit in front of Stop and Shop. And when the lady would come out with all of her bags, they'd say, "You need a ride, you need a ride, you need a ride." And it served all kinds of great purposes, right? So that person with the car, all he's got is a car, but that car was giving him a little bit of money, and he was supporting community. And then the woman with all of the bags and all of the kids had an easier way to get home. Well, that's illegal. So when
That's illegal?
That's illegal because, so let's go to the litigious society. And if you go back.
Yeah, Uber.
Oh yeah, Uber. What's like Uber?
Why are you trying to bring the 21st century into a 20th century problem? Okay, so we're talking 1990 and something. And it came down to these people might not be insured and there might be an accident and who's liable.
Yeah.
It's nonsense. So they when that Stop and Shop was first built, they had a landline inside that went directly to the cab company. And that they fixed it, and they wouldn't hear from the community that we can't afford cabs.
Really.
Like that's a $10 ride.
One of the people that fought that was the cab companies.
How'd they fight it?
By getting them to put the landlines into the store so they could use the cabs instead of these people are going to charge you a little bit less. Because I used to do that to get the extra money.
You never gave me a ride.
I never saw you.
Yeah, I don't get food. Food is, we have so much food and it doesn't get to people. I just don't get, it just makes me crazy.
I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole thing of everything being legal, but only for rich people.
Yeah,
Like
you're right.
laws only apply to poor people.
You're right, yeah.
Like literally any law, especially laws that are like fines or like obviously the bail system, like making it illegal to pick someone up that you don't know from the from the store. Like it's only legal if a corporation can make money off of it. That like the criminalization of poverty in this country and in most countries is is a huge problem. I don't really know what else to say about it, but that's where you have to recognize that people making these laws don't care about poor people. That's not where their interests lie. Clearly, because a rich person, even a upper middle class person is not going to be affected by these laws.
Yep.
And they're only put in place to keep the working class down, to keep them from getting to a place where they cannot have to deal with this anymore. Like it's the whole, pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing. You can't, because your existence for being someone who lives below the poverty line or even above it is criminalized.
Yeah.
And obviously that especially affects people of color.
Yeah, the whole bootstraps, when they tell us to pull us up by our bootstraps, but some of us don't have boots. If we have boots, we might not have straps. But because somebody else, I did this all on my own with the help of my parents and my grandfather's old money. But yeah, I just took a small loan of $1 million to start my $1 billion empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any of you guys heard the story out of Manhattan Beach in California about, this was in the New York Times this weekend, maybe last week. There was, in 1912, there was a Black family that bought a piece of property along the beach in Manhattan Beach, and they built a club for other Black people to come and enjoy the beach and lounge, and it was super successful. And it was even successful despite when other local white people started harassing the beach club goers and the family that owned the club, and making it difficult for people in the club that were going to go and partake in the club, making it difficult for them to park and get there and all sorts of stuff. It was still very successful. But the white people in the area got the city to agree to take the property and say that they were taking it because they really needed a park in Manhattan Beach. And so they took the property, paid the family. Now, even when you do a taking, they're theoretically supposed to pay the market value for the property, which never really happens. But this was even worse. Like they even underpaid even more. Then the city didn't even use the property to make a park for another 32 years. So the family, now the original owners obviously have passed, but the family has gone back to the city of Manhattan Beach and demanded that they get the property back, and they've demanded that the city pay them the damages for having taken the lost revenue and such. And the city, it looks like, has agreed to do that. That property is worth $72 million.
Sure it is.
It's right on the beach in Manhattan Beach, one of the nicest beach towns in the Los Angeles area.
Are they getting it?
Yes.
Definitely. That no more hurdles. It's not a thing that's gonna happen.
It looks like it. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, but how did the people originally get the city to do that? Who was it that got the city to say, hey, we want that property, you can't have it anymore? Those kind of people. Huh?
Let's all you need is one racist in charge to be talked to by another racist who doesn't like it. I mean, it wasn't hard then. I mean, it's really almost the exact same thing now, except they have to put up more smoke and mirrors because we have more visibility from the average person.
Okay.
Social media only adds the ability to show more foolishness that goes on, puts a light on it, gets a voice to certain things. So now they have to start trying to tiptoe around things a little bit more than they used to. Before they be blatant and tell you, what are you going to do? Now they're going to tell you, what are you going to do in a closed door meeting, while on their Twitter feed, they're going to tweet how they're trying to work things out because this isn't how America's supposed to work. So it's all trash anyway. Trash people with trash personalities and trash moral values are going to do trash things all the time.
Oh yeah.
When we were talking about the family farms, I was thinking, didn't bring it in, but I thought about talking about how many Black farmers lost their farms through all the special, wonderful ways. And then I was actually, if someone wants to look at how many Black family farms went out of business when there was that whole issue with the bad seeds. So they were so Black farmers were sold a whole slew of bad seeds that were known to be bad. People end up, no crops grew. Everyone ended up losing all of the money. Everyone ended up losing their farms. The folks who sold them the bad seeds ended up taking over a whole bunch of these farms, and just acres and acres and acres that belonged to Black human beings stopped belonging to Black human beings almost overnight. And I can say that as a Black person, there are places when you talk to Black folks who have family down south and you start sharing conversations about how your family no longer owns the family homestead. There are conversations that we're willing to have with each other, but you can't go tell a white person these stories because they sound unbelievable, and it's not fun having people not believe you. But, well, my grandfather was coming home from late work one day, and the neighbor came out and said, "You don't really own that farm." And he said, "Yes, I do. I've got the bill of sale." And then the neighbor said, "No, you don't." And then that night at 3 o'clock, they came and surrounded the house and said, "You don't own this farm." And then that's how he stopped owning the farm. Like, those ridiculous stories are actual real stories.
Yeah, they're true.
Talking to people who don't. Jessica.
That happened to my family in North Carolina, actually. In Bailey, North Carolina, which is in the sticks. If anybody knows North Carolina, it's like Rocky Mount is probably the biggest city. And my great my great grandfather owed like a really minimal amount of a property tax, and he didn't realize that he owned it. But I don't know if this is like universal, but you can go, and if you pay the property tax, you can outright own the land and the home. You don't have to pay for the actual house. And so what he didn't count on is my uncle had really like made a way for himself, made a good amount of money or whatever, and he was able to swoop in and get the house back. But had he not done that, so he had to purchase the house. But had he not done that, I mean, that land would have been gone. I mean, my great grandmother, you know, there was an old white guy coming on the porch and said, "We own this house." And she called for my great grandfather, her husband. It was like, there's some white dude on the porch that says he owns this house. And I mean, it could have so easily gone a different way, but it's very true. And it happened to my family, almost happened to my family.
I had no clue that was your story. That is the story. And from my experience, when you start sharing that story with white people, they start asking questions and pressing because you must be leaving something out. It's like, dude, this is America. That's what happened.
Yeah, there's always people are always incredulous when you tell them that, well, no, that's not legal, but they did it anyway. Like as if we constantly just want to make up stories of where illegal stuff happened to us, and it wasn't taken by force at all. We just said it happened. There has to be something. You must not have paid taxes. This must be. It happened because that's what they did. They used their force, their numbers, their violence to take things. That's what happened, and people don't understand that.
That, and then the assumption that you must not know the law. So there's an ACLU video that I love about how to deal with the police when they stop you, because there are all these different vignettes, right? And every vignette is perfect. And, you know, so this is what you're having the party and the police come and say, "Can we come in?" And all this stuff happens. And then there's the black guy on the street, and the cop comes up and says whatever. And the young man says everything he's supposed to. And then the screen goes black, screen comes back, and then the black guy's got his hands behind his back and with the handcuffs on. And then it cuts to the lawyer, you know, the ACLU lawyer in his office, and he goes, "Sometimes when they want to arrest you, they're just going to arrest you now." And then he gives the words on what happens there. And that was, you know, it was me. So I'm watching this video before I use it in a class. I'm like, it's some BS. This is, you know, whatever, until they got to that one. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, this is real. This isn't going to lie to our children and say, as long as you do what they tell you, you're not going to get arrested. Everything was perfect. Sometimes when they want to arrest you, they're just going to arrest you.
Oh, yeah.
And in some ways I liked it also because of the way they said it, which was no harm, no foul. Because very often when those illegal things are done to us, we internalize it and act as if we've somehow done something wrong and go around saying, no, really, I didn't do anything. No, really, I didn't do, no, really. Don't worry. You don't need to tell us you didn't do anything wrong. We got you.
So completely off topic, but something that just dumbfounded me. Supposedly the Negro College Fund just got its first black chairperson.
Right?
How in the blue hell is this the first time that the Negro College Fund has its first black chairperson? I'm dumbfounded by this revelation. How is this possible?
Well, one of my friends who's a problem did text way earlier today and said, well, does that mean that the last person who had the job was a Negro? I don't think so.
Well, the Secretary of the Interior is now an indigenous woman. How about that one?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too. That's pretty.
We'll see what she ends up doing with that. That's going to be interesting. We'll see what.
I just Googled. That is insane.
That's what?
I just Googled it. That is
United Negro College Fund.
Word.
First black chairperson.
The spokesperson's always been a black person, though.
Yeah.
Person in the commercial is always black.
Of course. Like I'm now imagining this room full of bleeding heart liberals who cares. Like, look what we're doing for the Negroes. That's why it's named the United Negro College Fund. We're gonna help them all. We're such good people.
Yeah, and impact just feels a little something. It's a little something.
I never looked into the history. I just saw the name and just assumed we had something to do with it. You know, through the history of it. You know, just really.
That's one of the ones that to me makes no sense. Like, you know, so definitely knew that the NAACP was founded by white people for white people. Like all of these I've known, but I never bought, and knowing that so many of the HBCUs were founded by good white people and that's how those existed, never bothered to even think about this one. Like it was one of those like blinders, didn't even go there. Of course, United Negro College Fund, who else cares about us going to school? Hey Shay, how you doing? So you joined us. That was what you just walked in on. Is did you know that the head of the United Negro College Fund is a Black man, and this is the first Black man ever?
That's why I had to go. I saw that, and I was like, I gotta come into this room because what is happening right
I don't know, but you're stalking
now?
us. Welcome.
I'm aghast it. Hi. Yes, I saw y'all, and I commented on the Zoom, and I was like, you know what? Let me slide in here real quick. I'm so disappointed. That's so yeah. I don't even got no words for that.
Oh no.
Laura, I thought of you and the Black Art Heals tour earlier this week when I heard this story about a Black woman artist who is doing artwork of people in her community that are, you know, just working people. And she starts all of her art using brown craft paper because she said she doesn't want to draw the Black people in her community starting with white paper. She wants them to start with black or brown paper. And then she makes sure that her pictures are placed in the community where the people who she is drawing can see themselves represented in art in an everyday way. And I thought it was just so beautiful.
Where is she? What community?
I gotta look it up. Details.
Something good like that. I'm sorry, there's a break dancer happening behind me, so the lights just
No
went
break
out.
dancer.
Oh, that wasn't dancing?
No, I was just beatboxing, getting a drink.
He's just beatboxing with a rhythmic body. That sounds kind of cool. I saw a video yesterday. Kathleen, yep, almost 7:30. Take care.
See you next week.
Alright.
Bye-bye.
Wait, it's over?
Nope,
Another 30 minutes?
another 30 minutes.
Dang it.
Yep.
Well, I hope you're ready for our night.
I am.
Movie night.
I am.
For our movie tonight.
Yep, I'll see you shortly. There's pure happiness in the house right about now. Yo, discipline makes kids happy. Like, okay, let me share with you. This is child number 2. This kid has been grounded twice this week. He has been the most pleasant, helpful, polite person ever. I don't know if anyone saw it, but in my last meeting, something happened. And so he was sweeping the house. He did a great job sweeping. He made sure that I went and looked. It was like, yeah, it's working out well. We'll see how long it lasts. Yeah, Shay, Isaiah cleaned the house today. Isaiah swept down the stairs. Isaiah. And was happy about it.
That is super impressive.
He didn't want it. So he found.
There was no bribery?
Well, no, there wasn't actual real bribery. However, and some folks here heard last week, so when his brother was a kid, I used to make Joseph write these 5-paragraph essays, and Isaiah had a Bible out last week. And as he was going through it, he found a couple of those essays that his brother wrote. And I think it kind of dawned on him, I don't want to have to write essays that my mother will definitely keep for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Yeah, he called Joseph about it right afterwards, and Joseph's like, I know about that.
Kid.
Yep. You had to do that. So Rich, you had shared a resource here. Healthy St. Pete. what are they doing? Is that they've got a walkable garden? Is that part of this project?
Hi, everyone. This first time coming to this meeting and absolutely loving it. And thank you for Justin to let me know about it, and I'll be back. I'm part of AEE, Organization for Experiential Education, and that organization in St. Pete did a keynote presentation at this year's conference. And they are doing inspiring work on many of the issues that are being discussed this evening in their community about their, health, basic health concerns for Black and brown people. And it's just really an amazing organization, and everything from water, which you've already discussed, and they are a resource for other organizations as well. So if you have some time, check them out, because really inspiring organization.
We will definitely. One thing I find, so I'm wondering, I'm gonna look them up, as I saw a documentary not long ago, and it was somewhere in Florida, but it was one of these, so sort of like what we've got on Sterling Street to a certain extent, but there was a really crappy piece of blighted property that was just a problem that they needed to get rid of. And they gave it to this group, and this group ended up building, like, on 1 acre, they get a whole lot of food, but they built this entire beautiful farm. Is that possibly this one? But that was just.
I'm not sure about that one, but if you were to suggest it to them, I'll bet you there are all these series of committees to go after those kinds of issues, but asking people in the town where that is first for their input.
When we're humans who can do the human things, we can make anything happen. When we turn into capitalists who need money, we forget how to make things happen. And I wonder about
I've got to run, everybody, but thank you for this great conversation, and I will be back.
Rich, thank you for enjoying us. Hopefully we'll see you sometime soon.
Absolutely.
And tonight, for folks who were part of any of the groups that I was with this morning, I was saying that I really thought that tonight was going to be a bit of an easier conversation. I thought this was going to be another freewheeling, fun one. This is still pretty freewheeling and fun, a little bit more serious than I thought it was going to be. But that's because the next 2 weeks are going to be a little bit tougher. So next week is going to be hard for me, because next week I'm not running my mouth at all either. So just like we did the evening with just Black women talking, next week we're going to do one with only trans people talking. So Reverend Lewis Mitchell, who is actually from the East Coast, has gone off to Seattle. Love my man so much. He's coming back. He's going to facilitate the conversation. As far as I know right now, he will be here. Carly will be here. I know they've reached out to some other folks, people who are here. If you're trans, Natasha, if you want to come join us, please come join us. The rest of us, we are all welcome, and it is incredibly important that we keep our mics muted and we only listen. That needs to happen. So next week is going to be challenging for folks. And then the week after, we're going to be open up again, but we're going to have a young woman who Ephraim is still editing it, but Ephraim just did a whole documentary about her life and about her transition. And they're going to debut the show the 31st. They're going to debut it at 9 o'clock that night, kind of part of Trans Day of Visibility celebration and all that other good stuff. But our conversation from 6 to 8 is going to be with her, with Ephraim, discussing her journey and discussing the fun ins and outs of it. Because it's really I feel it's really, really important that people share who they are. I think identity is really important, and then how we choose to walk through that. So this young woman decided that my life is kind of awesome. I'm cool sharing it. We're going to make a documentary about it. Ephraim came and asked, I was like, this is wonderful. Now, can we have all the wonderful conversations here before? And like, yes, we'll show it, but can we do this? So yeah, so we're going to have that conversation. And Natasha, like this is going to be a fun one, because this is a young woman who's going through transition today in 2020, who's been an adult woman for the last 10 years in this world, right? And so when we go back and we look at what transition looked like for so many people, even just 10 years ago, even just 15 years ago, even just 20 years ago, this woman's story, this woman's journey, and her ability to own her body, like thinking about folks who've been around in this world for a while. There was a time when you found the surgeon, right? There's the surgeon. This one was able to shop, find the person who she wanted. You know, the surgeries, this is what you do. This whole beautiful world of being able to truly decide who you are, decide what that means, and then create it. And then I'm thinking of, 2 weeks from now, it's going to be that beautiful place of, I figured out who I was. I figured out how I wanted to create it. I created it. And now I own my story and I share it. Like that's going to be beautiful. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, if I may, yesterday morning was amazing. I was lucky enough to be part of the Tamron Hall show in the audience. And if you can find it on YouTube or wherever she shows her shows, you need to catch it. Yesterday, she did a whole special on trans warriors. And she had amazing guest stars. She had T.S. Simmons, who was amazing, her and her mother together.
I don't know who that is.
She's a big YouTube person. She's getting her own show on We Network now. Angelica Ross from Pose, Nicole Maines from Supergirl, and there was one other young gentleman. And the whole show about trans fight, the awareness of who you are, was just one of the most powerful shows I've ever seen Tamron Hall do. And it was like, and then afterwards, before they cut off the audience and set them away, the Mormon comedian who found out what I was and who I was doing actually had Tamron Hall come onto the screen and had me introduce myself to her. And she said she may be contacting me soon. But that show yesterday, I was in tears by the end of the show. It was so beautiful.
I'm loving this. Now we need it all to like ends up in the next side, like we as humans, we're getting it, right? We're figuring like these talk shows, we laugh about them, but these ridiculous talk shows create places for people to share themselves, learn about each other. All of this is great. Now, how do we get it to DC? How do we get it into legislation?
Yep.
How do we get it so, I mean, we can sit up and watch daytime TV and figure out how to get folks' pronouns right. How come when I go to the emergency room, they can't always do it? Like at this point, I'm trying to figure out how we get the academics to pay attention to pop culture.
I was just gonna say, or at school, right? Where they're like asking people to introduce themselves with their pronouns and then can't get it right repeatedly. Like,
yep.
And you
knew
this person, you just came to know this person. It's not like you knew them before or like, had to relearn them as someone new. Like this is someone new that you're greeting and getting to know now. Like it's not that hard. Come on.
Yeah.
It's challenging, right? It's challenging. It's like you have to shift your thinking a little bit, but like, come on, you teachers, get it right.
My brother has known me since the day he was born, not since I was born. He's known me his entire life as Naya, his sister, she, her. Since I came out as non-binary, he has messed it up maybe once. He has known me every single day. There's no reason a teacher who has known me for less than 2 years should not be able to get it. It's just when people who have just met me, even if it's only been like a couple, like I understand, like it's difficult. Like sometimes I mess up my friends' pronouns. Like it's hard, but like people who refuse to take accountability for it, like I have no patience, especially if you have not known me for my whole life, let alone like your whole life. Like I don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, I enjoy listening to parents figure out how they're going to talk about the child that was the child and the adult who is going to be the adult and the adolescent. And I love listening to that because I love listening to the love there. And I love listening to someone actually go through the, like that to me, that's love. That's okay. So this is who this person is. This is who I knew this person to be. How do I work through this to continue to be here fully and present throughout all this? That is beautiful and wonderful. And very rarely in those places do I hear parents screwing up, right? The parent who says, let me really think about this and get into it. It's the folks who are cool. It's like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. But then I don't see it happening. And I think like when it comes to people's identities and our relationships with folks and their identities, we need to take that stuff seriously. my brothers and I, who we know ourselves to be as racial beings, as my brothers, has changed over the years. And we've had conversations about this. And what does this look like? And, what does it look like to be a mulatto man and a mulatto woman and a black man and a black woman and a mixed man and a mixed woman? And all of these wonderful conversations that are really just us having conversations about how we're going to interact together, how our relationships work. And very often parents are having these conversations and thinking, and it's all about how do I continue to have this? How do I continue to be the parent and show up the way that I know that I can show up and should show up and want to show up? Why is it that folks don't do that? Like this, and folks know, everyone here, if you're here, you probably saw the conversation with Alfonso here. You might have taken part in the conversation that we had with him. You heard some of the conversations, and you know that the reason why we're doing next week is because of the conversation that we had with Alfonso. But this is a grown human being who is well educated, who considers himself a lifelong learner, who for whatever reason cannot understand that a trans woman is a woman and a trans man is a man. And that's just what it is. Now, I can go to that place, like this is that wonderful place of thinking. I can go to my place of transphobia immediately. And some folks here know the conversations that we had, and it was like, here we are. Mm-hmm. But transphobia, easy, but what the heck is that? What gets in there where a person cannot and refuses to see someone for who they know themselves to be? And we're not this, please, I'm not asking this so that we can sit back and be loving and try to come up with all of the great places. But what's the stuff that gets up in there?
Yeah. I just posted in the chat room the two links to the 2 episodes of T.S. Simmons and Angelica Ross.
You?
They're in the chat room or in the chat box.
Thank you, Miss Lombardi. I'm going to check those out. I need you to go make a fool of yourself on some daytime TV show, though. So, Yeah. So Natasha gave me a call one night in the middle of the night, years and years and years ago. I was on the Howard Stern show, and it was one of those things that, like, it just kind of happened. It was cool. It was here. And it was here. And I get a phone call. It's like, Kamora, were you ever on the Howard Stern show? Shh, maybe, huh? So I just need you to do something in public. So I've got something on you too.
It's still on YouTube, by the way.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
We need to link that.
I will.
I've got it on VHS over here somewhere.
Sorry, it's been an intense week with school.
It was cool to tell them that I used to live on South Whitney Street. What's going on at school this week?
We're doing a lot of readings on, we discussed a little bit of it earlier, but on food oppression in the cities, and reading some articles that are really opening my eyes, especially about the USDA. And in order to get rid of a lot of extra milk, because people weren't buying milk, they started a place called DMI, which is actually convincing fast food restaurants to put more dairy products into the fast food restaurants in the food areas, and convincing the schools to push more milk on the students, especially in the minority areas, which is dangerous because I didn't realize till this article, it's called The Wholesome Whiteness of Milk. That 75% of African Americans are lactose intolerant, and it could cause them a lot of harm. So this class we're taking is really getting intense on how to improve the foods. I just hope I can actually move forward and get something accomplished.
I'm gonna want to hear more about that class, especially the USDA piece. Hey, Zion, we see your daddy, but he's not as cool as you. We see your arm. How you doing, David? Are your fatherhood duties done for the night? Is it into daddy playtime now, or do you still have daddy work to do?
We got about another half hour before we go to bed. And then we got to get stuff ready for tomorrow. Yeah.
So what is going on with daddy time? This is something new. I haven't heard.
Oh, yeah. This is about 2.5 months.
Oh, look at him.
Yeah, about 2.5 months and he's 11 months old.
Oh.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
What
Thank
amazing.
you.
Oh, that's so amazing.
I love him, and he'll be 1 next month.
Uh-huh.
We're excited about that. We have 9 teeth.
9?
9.
Oh my God, 9.
And when he came into my care, he had 4.
Wow.
Wow.
And the teething is, yeah. There's no words to describe that experience.
Oh, well, if you need a grandma, I'm here.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for you. Congratulations.
Oh, not that.
I just love how tired and happy you look.
Yes.
Both of those together.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Funniest stuff too.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone saw Assad put up some kind of status, something about, when do you have time? When do you get to do stuff again? It was a whole lot of fun. Also looking at everyone who underneath just was like, ha ha, nope, you're dead now. Nope, it's over. Nope. Oh, you thought you got to have fun again? Nope.
Remember he said something about his sex life?
That's what I was going, yeah. So basically he said, when do I get to have sex again?
Nope.
Yeah, not so much.
Yeah, you were one of the people too. It was a whole lot of fun. Like, nah, it's over. You better learn all those dad jokes. So what other good stuff is happening? I wanted to, if I had had any extra time today, I would have read some more, listened to some more about what happened in Atlanta, and I would have wanted to discuss that. But as information is coming in, I really don't want to do that without having any real information. So if anyone wants to discuss what happened in Atlanta, please do. But I'm going to.
I had a few missed calls today from some friends, and it was something must have happened because, I mean, my friends call me often, but I got 2 calls from 2 different people who used to live in Connecticut, who live in Atlanta, and I didn't pick up. Now I'm getting scared. What happened?
A gentleman went on a shooting spree at Asian run spas, and he has killed 6 Asian women and I think 2 Caucasians. But he went out there and just went out there on a killing spree.
Yeah, so no, he was apprehended. He's alive, so they took him into custody. And when I went looking earlier, the one thing I saw was that, so they said, or one of the theories is that he did it because he's got a sex addiction. And once I got to that, I realized that there's probably a lot more information that I was going to need before I was able to talk about this.
The typical, let's change the narrative. We can't ever let it be about hate up front when we know it's probably about hate up front. It just.
Well, yeah, it is one of those where,
Definitely sounds like a hate crime, and I hate that.
And then we get to the fun place of intersectionality, where was it a hate crime against women? Was it a hate crime against Asians? Was it a hate crime against Asian women specifically? And why?
Yeah.
We know that folks like to kill prostitutes because people think no one cares about prostitutes. That's an issue. We know that many undocumented people have to deal with some real unsafe, unhealthy situations because that's an issue. And we know that many of these, and I'm speaking in generalities right now, okay, because I'm not speaking specifically about this one because I don't know about this one, but we know very often people target people who are much weaker. Men target women. When we've got this place where we are probably an immigrant. We definitely come from a community that does not do a large job of running to the government, running to the police, running to bring their issues to Front Street. And women, we've got someone who, if I need to be powerful, a Korean woman is probably a great victim if I need to tell myself that I'm powerful and go step into power if I don't have any power. So I think there's going to be a whole lot that's going to be here. And like folks said, I'm sure we're going to discuss everything else except hate before we get to an understanding of what could have happened.
Supposedly this whole concept is coming directly from his mouth, that he said he confessed to the crimes, and he was saying that he has a temptation that he was trying to quelch by shooting up these establishments because they believe he might frequent them. So they're saying this theory is straight from him, that it wasn't a hate crime. But of course, when you're looking at possibly facing six counts of a hate crime to add on to your murder, you might say anything, but who's to know?
Wasn't that the definition of gay panic, which is still legal in however many states? But gay panic, basically, I'm attracted to gay people. It's very, very upsetting to me. I'm going to murder one.
Yep.
Sounds about the same.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, yeah, his internet browser search would be interesting to know.
Yep.
What kind of theories he researched before he did it.
In 2020, overall hate crimes, like as a whole, went down, like the rate, except for against Jewish people and Asian people. For Asian people, it went up 150% nationwide. In New York City, it's gone up 1,400% against Asian people. So obviously people have individualized hatred towards groups like on their own level, but why do we think that these people feel emboldened? What was the leader of the free world calling this pandemic?
Yeah.
A 150%. Is there any breakdown, and I'm wondering if it's just regional, but is there a breakdown on nationality or ethnicity, or is it just across the board Asian folks?
There probably is a breakdown, but that specific statistic is against Asian Americans in general.
Somewhere there's a YouTube video of someone kind of breaking down, like, please get your racist stereotypes right. And they go through all the different Asian countries, and it's hilarious, haha. But it's this interesting place of, hey, Americans, you refuse to see that there's a difference, but we've got a whole lot of interior differences. And that's kind of why I was asking, because our president was calling it the China flu, or the China flu, and that's where he is. But this hatred and these hate crimes just go across the board, and they're not specifically towards Chinese Americans.
Yeah, but much like the camps back during what was it, World War II, where they were throwing all Asians they could think of in camps because they obviously all had to be deep plants, right? They didn't really care whether you were Japanese or Chinese or Korean or Vietnamese. All Asians were Chinese or Japanese in that moment. There's this thing. We do it. We all do it. Some of it's innocent. Some of it is just ignorant, right? And most of it's ignorant. Like we the first time you hear somebody with a accent from the Caribbean, the first island people think of is Jamaica. But that's not everybody's Jamaican, right? Obviously. So, it's this thing where we do this, like where we grow up, because we're here in Hartford. When we see somebody who's Latino, we automatically think Puerto Rican first. But I got friends from Chicago. They have a high Mexican population. They think Mexican before they think Puerto Rican, just like people in California. So we have these biases that get stuck in our head, and we never know how to shake them unless somebody actually puts it out there and keeps trying to drill it to us. It's the same thing with the pronouns. I know I struggle with the pronouns, so I'm not going to act like I'm perfect on this one. I struggle with it. I go with what I see first, and if I'm wrong, then correct me. I'll try and be good about it later. But it's one of those things where we're so stuck in what we're used to. It's ingrained in us. Just like we accept racism on low levels and don't even think much about it. Think about how many times we watched cartoons when we were kids. I had, because since everybody wanted to talk about Pepe Le Pew over the last couple of weeks, which is just asinine, but we watched those cartoons. How many mammies did you not get to see the face of in a Tom and Jerry or any Warner Brothers thing? There was just a big fat black lady with dark hands that you saw on the side, and we accepted it. We didn't care that it was there, but they were reinforcing these images in us when we were younger, and now that we're grown, we don't see the problem with it because we still formed our own ideas. So this is why people are saying, I didn't see Pepe Le Pew and thought this, but that doesn't matter what we saw. It's a matter what people are internalizing now or what they could internalize, right? So it's the same thing. We have to start showing people a better way and hoping they can catch on. Some people never will.
Something else I've been reading about lately is the model minority myth, that Asian people worked hard, so now they get to be like at the same level as white people or whatever in this white supremacist society. Like, and that's the thing too, like people on the far right are trying to make it so that Asian Americans are considered white, because white supremacy is the definition of white is an ever-changing thing, because when they run out of people who are subscribing to their ideas, they need more. So that's why Irish people became part of a white supremacist definition of white is. That's why Italian people became part of a white supremacist definition of what white is. And so it's a fallacy that Asian Americans are at the same level as white Americans, economically, with whatever like rights they're afforded. You can tell because of the rates of hate crimes that every other group has had less in hate crimes over the past year. And obviously some of that has to do with everybody's inside, but it also has to do with the fact that it's a lie, and it's something that you're told so that you become complicit. You don't continue to look at these problems because they're just pushed down. You're just told, Asian men, if you look at wage gaps, Asian men make more than white men. That first of all, the samples they're drawing from skew the data. Second of all, if you actually look at like poverty rates, Asian people aren't doing much better than other groups. It's just that if you look at like what certain types of jobs are given to them, like it's just the fact that you always have to look at things intersectionally, because just because a group their median wage is higher than another does not mean anything at all.
Yeah, I put something up today as a question. One person responded, and it's it's pushing because that's what I do. I push, but I don't know if anyone else is about my age. If you remember rumors, and we got rumors in the late 90s that when Korean folks were moving here, they were being given cars, they were being given stores, and they were being given cash to start companies. Now the person who responded on my page is like, well, I'm not sure about that. I am 99.9% sure that there's no truth to that whatsoever, but it lived hard. And there's this understanding that, oh, well, there's a reason why there's so many Korean stores in the hood. There's a reason why this is. And it's almost like, I really want to find the kernel of where that rumor came from. I don't know if it came from us. I don't know if it came from we. I don't know where that one came from. I don't know what it is, but there is this weird place where, from my perspective, Black folks and Korean refugees really could have, once we address some of those interesting cultural places, we really should have been natural allies. We really should have been there for each other. But something happened and they ended up in our communities owning stores, and things just didn't go well. But why were we set up to hate each other? Why is it, no matter where I go in this country, if I go to the hood and start talking to Black folks, we will get to a place of understanding that certain groups of Asians, when they immigrated over here, were given stuff so that they could excel over us. And this is for anyone who's watching this on Facebook right now. This is not a rhetorical question. I'm really looking for the seed. I'm looking for the kernel of that rumor. I don't want to use it as an aha for anyone, but I want to use it to start building out and figuring out what setup was, why this setup happens, and what we can do to get out of it. There's one thing that I've always heard of is the money being slammed on the counter. So, and this is one that we'll hear forever. So Black folks go into the store, they pay for whatever it is that they get, they put their hand out, and the store owner puts the money on the counter, not in their hand. This is seen as disrespect by one group of people, by the folks who are giving the money. That's your money. I put it on the counter. That's what I did. That's one that I've heard, that I've experienced, but that's one that's been explained to me of that's a cultural difference. That is not disrespect. It is the way that one group sees respect, the way another group sees respect, and guess what? They don't line up. Nicole, go enjoy your dinner. Have a great time. See you next week. New computer, Natasha?
Yeah, we had to get Elijah one because his was dying. So we got stimulated the same morning the computer died. So we were able to get it.
Hey, side note, Kimura, your little
Yes.
late night, no lighting, little live you did last night. It was kind of a cool effect. You should do that on a regular basis.
Okay, so next time I'm working past bedtime and sitting in my bed working, there you go. Yeah. Next time when I'm like, okay, only 5 more minutes, and then 2 hours later I look up, gotcha.
It looked real artistic. You was like, oh, I'm not even bothered with the lights. It's like, it actually looks kind of cool. I don't know. Your wall for some reason blended in with your skin tone. It was weird.
Oh, that works out well.
That's the
That
same
was-
room? That's
No,
the same
that was
color wall?
upstairs.
Okay,
No.
because it was all orange, burnt orange. I was like, it looked kind of cool.
Yay, thank you. That was my bedtime, and that was really like, I gotta say it thing. I'm really kind of done. Cool.
By the way, when you're done with all your members, I'm interested in participating in that.
Will you? Good. I want to have this conversation with you. There's a few folks who I definitely want to have it. So the first people I need to do this with are with the Healing Arts crew, and those people. But this is, and we'll end after this, but I want to talk about what I'm doing with the podcast, because if anyone here wants to be on the podcast, please let me know. I've had a couple interns. Jen came together and put together a really decent, I don't know, document with a whole lot of Kimura interviews, videos, write-ups, all that good stuff. Naya's been putting it together in some type of order, which is going to be helpful. But the work that we're doing here is revolutionary work. Some of it's got language, a lot of it doesn't have language. And what everyone here has heard is that there are words that I've got to use for what I do that in no way match what I do. So it's kind of hard for me to get across to folks what I'm doing. And so the way we're going to do the podcast is folks who are interested can go familiarize themselves with whatever in that smorgasbord of info that they want to, and then we'll have a half-hour conversation discussing it. That'll end up being edited down to 15 minutes, but we'll start getting out the information about what the KCC does, what we believe, and why we believe it. And as like, yes, Wallace, I want to get you up in there so that we can talk about what you're doing as well and how this is what it is. So it's definitely getting our stuff across, but my stuff is all about we. So it's getting our stuff across and making sure that I'm getting my community out there to the larger world too. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so it's been David's gone, but yeah, sleep well, put the baby to sleep. It's been a really busy week. It's been a great week. It's been a good week. And it's only Wednesday. I just realized it's not Friday yet. How did you feel about this morning, Justin?
That was crazy. That was pretty awesome and special for me. I mean, just circles connecting and things like that. For those of you who don't know, I got to present with Kimura today at a conference.
Most of these people know your book.
Oh, okay. So it was a conference. It's a conference for special ed agencies. So it was like the Connecticut Association for Private Special Education Facilities. So all the private special ed schools in the state and their staffs, where I did one of my first professional presentations years back and was invited back to do the keynote this year. And last year was invited to do the keynote last year. And Kimura and I were talking last year about a workshop that we were going to do there. And then the day we were meeting for the workshop, Dickie showed up. Remember this?
Yep, I remember completely. We talked about COVID. Is there anything to worry about? No.
Just wash your hands. And then the next day, everything got canceled. And so they called me up a couple weeks ago to ask if I would still do it, and it'll all be Zoom, blah, blah, blah. Can you still do this? And so I was like, yeah, this would be great. But everything shifted for it. It was cool. It was weird. You know, it's weird. This is weird. Zoom is weird. It's cool. You manage it beautifully. Like I'm in awe, like I've said already, of your facilitation on Zoom, because it's the feedback and the vibes that you get in this are very real and awesome to be present for and watch people unfold and open up in here. But you know, giving a talk like that, no one's kind of giving you anything back on Zoom is freaking weird, man. So that felt kind of bizarre, because I wasn't looking at anybody while I was talking either. So just so I would stay focused. The Focus Your Locus guy has a hard time. So that was weird for me, but it was really cool. The feedback that I got was really nice. I think people appreciated my own vulnerability in that. Was a lot of the feedback that I got was that people really appreciated me being vulnerable in the way that I was, and real. And I actually got sent back into the big Zoom room out of one of my breakouts, and people were like, we need more parents who are doing this work. And I was like, no, like, I know what you mean, but no, you don't. Like, no, how about we just create better mental health systems where like more parents don't need to do this, you know? But I know what you mean. Yes, like it's great that parents who get it are also doing this work, but like, no. Yeah, no, it was great. We never finished your assignment when you had to break out of our breakout, because I was like, I saw the time and I was like, we're not going to have time to do this. So we're just going to talk about how awesome Kimura is. So that's basically how we wrapped up our session, and talked a little bit more about using, you know, manipulatives and imagery and putting something in someone's hand and asking the question, or giving people things to choose from to put in their hand and tell about instead of themselves, because they'll talk all day long about this apple that means all these things that are about them, which they connect to. But yeah, it was really good. We brought it back. We processed out the questions a little bit more. But really, I just kind of shone the light more and talked a little bit about your Labyrinth project, and was trying to let people know about Kimura was how the rest of that session went. I didn't go back for the award thing afterward. After the lunch break, I was out. I had some other calls I needed to get on, and then just kind of crash and burn for a little bit.
Yeah. Crash and burn's about to happen. It's going to be in Isaiah's bed, but crash and burn's about to happen very, very shortly.
How do you feel it went? It was weird. I'm like waiting to hopefully get a copy of the video from it, because like, you know, when you're doing it, you're not seeing it, and I'm kind of scared, but.
Yeah, no, I see. Well, if you can kind of timeline it a little bit, is what I was posting as your keynote was happening. I was really enjoying your keynote. And there was a point where I don't know what to post. I posted something and Gio was like, I want to be there. It's like, Gio, you should be here. Like this is a great time. So that was pretty awesome.
I saw your live that you posted after it.
Oh yeah, right after.
Yeah, about the neighborhood growing up and our parents and all that.
Yeah, well, it was, yes. So people who've heard me talk about, Catherine, I know you, Justin is one of these Blue Hills kids, right? And so our parents were going to make a better world, and we all lived together and we all did this weirdo stuff together. But during your keynote, I heard, you know, there's the light, the dark, the moth, there's all that good stuff. But it was this it was the we and I, and you using yourself vulnerably. Like, I wonder how other people, and as it was happening, I was wondering how other people were responding to it, because there's a part of me that wanted to pretend like I didn't know you. And because like it was there and I was connecting, it was beautiful. But I was like, if I didn't know this person, would I be connecting in the same way? Because it was right there. And it was a place where I got to observe you that way. And I was like, this is us. This is we. This is that foundation. And I can tell you that, like, when my parents would talk about it in like the late 80s or 90s, like there was the ha ha ha, you know, we thought this, ha ha ha. but it was the video that I made this morning really wasn't for us. It was for our parents, telling them, you guys, you know, you planted the seeds well, and here we are 50 years later, but the work is happening, and it felt really good.
I reshared it on my page and thanked my parents and all the other parents, and was like, you know, some seeds take a while, but we got strong roots, and sometimes we even blossom. But you know, no, it was cool. It was special. You know, and the date, like I said, like this is a birthday. My friend would have been 60 today. Died 10 years ago, very unexpectedly, who I co-wrote that book with, and was a mentor, and who brought me into the work that I do. So like to get called to do, like the fact that it was going to be last year was going to be awesome in person. It would have felt more normal for me, how I like to be among and with people, and not in front of you, talking at you. So that was the fact that it got postponed to what is his birthday today, you know, was like even more special, even though it was weird to do it like this. It was pretty cool. I don't know. I stressed the fuck out about it. Like, honestly, for the last couple of weeks, like I had some major blockage beforehand that was, you know, just like crippling. Like I will do anything other than try to write this right now, like even clean my desk, which is like I don't do. So like when I finally caught flow and just went for it, I had like different things going and pulled things back together. And when I finally patched it all together and read it, it was like 40 minutes and 44 seconds. And I had a 5-minute activity I was going to do. And I had 45 minutes. So I was like, okay, now I just got to tighten it down. But yeah, I mean, it felt good. It felt weird. It's a good group of people. That group of people really do care. You know, they're like, you know, they're a loving, caring group of caregivers in special education, who also are burned out. Like, and like, you know, like I talked about, you know, like I've seen it as a colleague. I've seen it as a parent, and that's scary. You know, you know, it's one of those things, as people in charge of other people, like you got to take care of yourself so you can take care of other people. Otherwise, like step aside and take care of yourself so you can get right.
There's definitely not enough focus on your own mental and personal health in that field.
Yeah.
You know, I worked as a direct care counselor, you know, at the children's home, and I was a per diem, so I only came on the weekends, you know, so I didn't have the full 5 days a week, you know, insertion in the milieu where you dealt with a lot of the issues. And I found that I obviously was able to come in and be a breath of fresh air, where the people who were there every day would just run down, because taking on all that every day was just hammering their psyche. It's almost like you need to have planned time to be out of it.
Yeah.
You know, rotate out. Like if really staffing made sense, you would rotate people in and out of the direct care on a regular basis in order to give them this kind of breath to kind of get their minds back in, and their spirits back in the right frame of mind to deal with what they have to deal with.
Absolutely. And in a both in an unstructured, like here, take some time way, but also I think it's important. I implored all these folks today. I implored all the administrators, like carve out the time for your staff, like let them have time to process like what we go through, what you've been through, what we've all been through over the last year, like let alone what you go through on a daily basis. Like I was struck last week by July's disclosure, you know, about when they finally had to take time off and it all came crashing down from the nursing home, right? Like, and that happens, you know, that's what you're talking about, you know, the people who are directly in it, like you're in it. And so all your protective stuff is up. And if you're not paying attention to that bubble that you put up and intentionally putting it up, like you're not putting it up properly. And all that stuff is sitting in there with you and eating away at you. If you're not processing it and dealing with it right, it's going to come crashing back at you. And if you're not dealing with it right, you're sharing things in the wrong way for the people that you're supposed to care for. I was struck by what they shared last week. It actually informed some of kind of how I went into that today with them, because I connected to that very deeply, knowing, vicarious trauma is serious. And, even if you don't have your own stuff, that's hard and bad. Like you're a vessel for a lot of other people that you're with, especially kids, like who are putting their trust and care into you and sharing their deep, hard stuff. There's a big energy exchange that happens. And if you're not in a good place to be able to manage that, like it's harmful. It can be very harmful, not only to them, but to you as well. And consequently to everyone else around you. So that was a big part of my talk. Ian did a good job, in his session. He's awesome.
I love that Ian feels the need to tell people that he's from England. Like,
I know.
the biggest accent.
So
I'm
you
actually
might
from
not
England.
realize this, but I'm British. Yeah.
Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it this morning. And I really want to get back to conference world together. Actually, this morning before things started, we were talking about that, and we were talking about what this could have been. And he's looking forward to going to a hotel and having room service. So that's what a conference is to Isaiah. There are no more hotels and room services because there's no more conferences.
I'm with that.
Well,
we got conferences coming up, but it's all like this, which is cool.
It's not the same.
It's definitely not the same. It's you know what it is? Because in order for it to work cleanly for everybody, you have to have people be quiet, right? But we all know as presenters, it's the engagement that can make or break what you're trying to present. Yes. And so that you can't have this true engagement beyond a tile screen of nodding heads, it makes it a different event. I mean, I'm coming from, obviously, I've done presentations, but also preached on Zoom is one of the weirdest things you could do, because it's hard to interact with the people, especially if you want everybody to be able to hear what you're saying. Because if you leave the lines open, you're going to have way too much other noise that will always interrupt what's going on. So it really is a tough environment to work out of. I contemplated the last thing I had to do that wasn't preaching on Zoom. I contemplated recording the whole thing just so I can play it, and then I can actually see what people are doing and send notes and comment in the chat with them to say, hey, what did you think about this? What about that? Hey, everybody chime in, just so you can get some engagement. Because if you,
Have you done that yet? That sounds interesting.
No, that's what I'm thinking of doing. I'm going to record it. Use my camera phone on camera on my computer, record the whole thing, the whole presentation, and present the presentation so I can engage with people in the comments, because I think it would be a little bit more effective for particular certain subject matter where you can engage with people while it's going on.
So you've done this on Zoom, and how many people are at your?
The most I've had was about 75 people on a Zoom when I was presenting. But like I said, I haven't done a recording. I'm contemplating doing it. I'm trying to work it out in my mind, the best way to do it and the best medium. But I really want some more engagement with people while it's going on. So I'm even thinking about building in pauses, right? Beyond that, but the pauses are so they don't miss information while we're already talking.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've found about engaging on Zoom, because I'm small, I like small group stuff for engagement. And so when I have 70 people in a workshop, I do a lot of small group work within a big group, where I learned that I'm not going to hear what everybody's saying ever. But I can set people off in a small group and then get people to come back and report to the big group, so we all get to hear kind of what's gone on in the various small groups. So on Zoom, using breakout rooms, so you can give a sermon or talk or part of it, and then pose a question and have send people to the breakout rooms and have people discuss. And you might not be there in each one. You could pop into them or whatever, but you may not even need to. You can pose that question, let people pop out. People want to share. People want to unpack what you just talked about and engage with it, and they'll engage with each other. And then when everybody comes back in, ask people, to contribute. because people want to. The breakout rooms in Zoom are awesome for that, for mirroring how you can get more small group discussion and engagement going. Because it's one of those things, like I found today, and some things other people shared with me about their frustrations watching other people on these things, right? And I'm guilty of it too. I ate dinner during this. I turned my camera off once I realized I was like, I don't know. Like, people forget, like, we're on a screen. You're not watching TV. Like, we're here with each other. This is how we're here with each other. It's not TV. This is a give and a take. And so, like, when people are like in a meeting and they just they might be on mute, but now I'm taking a phone call in front of everybody, right? It's like just some of that, like, normal ways that you nonverbals that you can communicate in a group that would be rude in a real life in-person situation. Like, people forget because I'm in my living room, or in my kitchen, or in my whatever. But yeah, the Zoom breakout space I've found that's where a lot of that magic engagement, that I don't hear everything that goes on in each room unless I pop in and I'm joined with it. But a lot of that magic happens there and then comes back into the big room and creates like more opportunity for more engagement and launch pads off of what we just talked about.
Yeah, I've been surprised at how well the conversations in Zoom rooms go. So I started, like, when we first started doing workshops on Zoom, I would send people to a room, but I wasn't sending them for more than 3 minutes. And the group I did today, they had 12 minutes. So they went away for 6 minutes, came back for a check-in together, a large group check-in for about a minute. They got another prompt. So instead of putting the prompt in there, we came back and then sent them out. But for me, that was a big deal because there's 12 minutes there. And I love small group work, but I also love being in the room so I can walk from group to group. And then as I hear little things coming, like when we come back to the large group conversation, I'm usually going to pull some of what I got from those little groups in. So I don't like not getting that part, but I'm trusting the Zoom room a lot more now, because like for the last couple of groups I've been doing, I bring them back and they're like, it's too soon. It's like, you guys were away for 5 minutes. And then there goes that weird part of me, which is like, am I really earning my money right now? Because I asked you a question and then sent you away and I'm just chilling. But that small group work, when you set this stage, people are really using them and connecting there.
Yeah, new ways to do everything, right?
Yep.
New ways to do everything.
And we're jumping over some barriers. So today, we had the ASL interpreter. We made sure that everyone who wanted to be with that person went into that right Zoom room. That was wonderful. We shared the YouTube video. YouTube, you can just click on it. You've got your closed captioning there. I've got all of these wonderful ways of actually creating space for everyone now that I have not had utilized or even thought of in the past. So that when I think about access, I like that part a lot.
I'm looking forward to in-person stuff.
Yeah.
Without
Let's go to AE.
masks. Like, because that's the whole other barrier in person now, is the mask, right? Like, so much of what I get, like, in a big space, hearing is challenging, right? And so, like, as the person facilitating, like, you kind of need to hear. And so, like, you take away this much of someone's facial context and barrier their voice, that's challenging, right? But at least we have the vibe. You can feel, people around you and kind of pick up on energy differently than on Zoom. But and what a weird different time we're in.
Yeah, that's really weird. I've got one group who I see in real life, but we've got the masks. And so when we went to go visit them earlier this week, I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have to wear a mask for 2 hours today. So I do this forever and I don't have to do that. And for that group, yay, we're in person, we're face to face, this is great. And this is happening for 2 hours. Yeah, it works. So good night, people. I am about to go upstairs. I'm going to go get into Isaiah's bed with him. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do up there. It's probably going to be some crappy YouTube video. We're going to watch watch other people play video games. Yay, parenting 2021. Night, y'all.
Good night.